Take control of your life. While biological factors still have an impact on our energy levels and the strength of our resolve, it turns out they don't hold the lion's share of responsibility. Instead of accounting for something like 70% of our willpower as previously thought, these factors might only influence about 30%. So what controls the remaining 70%? Increasingly, studies show that what's happening inside our mind, our thoughts, perceptions, and psychological strategies, play a much more significant role. This lesson focuses on that other 70%. Specifically, we'll dive into 5 key psychological strategies that can not only boost your motivation, but also enhance your willpower, helping you maintain focus and avoid the phenomenon known as ego depletion. Ego depletion occurs when your mental energy runs low after repeated efforts of self-control, making it harder to keep up with tasks and resist temptations. But with the right mindset, it's possible to counteract this and keep your motivation strong throughout the day. Let's start with the first strategy, chunking. You might have heard of chunking in various contexts, but in the realm of motivation and willpower, it refers to breaking down large, overwhelming tasks into smaller, more manageable pieces. Chunking allows you to overcome the mental blocks that arise when a task feels too big to handle. By focusing on one small portion at a time, you reduce the cognitive load on your brain, making the task seem more achievable. A prime example of chunking comes from one of the most famous endurance performers in the world, magician David Blaine. Blaine is known for his extreme endurance feats, including spending over 63 hours encased in a block of ice. Just imagining that experience can make you feel the cold and fatigue he must have faced. It required an extraordinary amount of willpower to pull off such a stunt. How did he manage it? Blaine didn't focus on the daunting prospect of enduring more than 60 hours. Instead, he used chunking to break the time into smaller, digestible segments. He told himself, "I only need to get through the next hour." Then once that hour was over, he repeated the same thought process for the following hour. By narrowing his focus to just 1 hour at a time, Blaine was able to conserve his mental energy and make steady progress toward his ultimate goal. Why does chunking work so well? The human brain is designed to optimize the use of its resources, particularly willpower. In fact, while we have an incredible amount of potential willpower, there's a limit to how much our brain is willing to expend at any given moment. It acts like a gatekeeper, deciding when to release more of this precious resource. When we present the brain with a massive, seemingly impossible task, it reacts by conserving energy and shutting down access to further willpower. The task feels too large, so the brain tells us, "You've had enough for today." But when you break that same task into smaller, more focused pieces, the brain reacts differently. It sees each small piece as manageable, triggering a release of the necessary willpower to complete it. This is why chunking is such a powerful tool. It tricks the brain into giving you the energy you need for what appears to be a small task, allowing you to accumulate small victories that ultimately add up to completing the larger goal. Let's apply this idea to something you might face in your own life. Imagine you have a 5-page paper to write. If you sit down and tell yourself that you need to complete the entire paper in one go, you're likely to feel overwhelmed, and your brain may resist releasing the willpower you need to get started. But what if you change your approach? Instead of thinking about writing 5 pages, focus on writing just 1 paragraph. Then, once you've completed that, move on to the next paragraph. By using chunking, you can maintain a steady flow of willpower and motivation, making the overall task seem far less intimidating. In addition to helping you access more willpower, chunking can also boost your confidence, which brings us to the second key psychological strategy. Confidence plays a crucial role in how much willpower a task requires. The more confident you feel about your ability to succeed, the less mental effort you need to put in. Conversely, when a task feels out of reach or you doubt your ability to complete it, the brain requires more willpower to keep you going. Let's use the example of weight loss. Suppose someone's goal is to lose 20 pounds. If you were to ask random people on the street how confident they felt about achieving this goal, many would likely express doubt. The thought of losing 20 pounds can seem overwhelming, especially if they've tried and failed before. However, if you break that goal down into smaller chunks, let's say losing just 1 pound, most people would feel much more confident. They'd think, "Yeah, I can lose 1 pound." That small boost in confidence makes the task feel more attainable, which in turn requires less willpower to stay motivated. This concept of small wins is central to building confidence and momentum. By focusing on achieving minor milestones, you gradually accumulate a sense of achievement, which strengthens your belief that you can reach the larger goal. A great way to reinforce this confidence is by tracking your progress. For instance, if you're trying to lose weight, you can use an app like MyFitnessPal to monitor your daily achievements. As you watch your progress in real time, whether it's a slight drop in weight or hitting a new personal best at the gym, your confidence grows. As a result, returning to the gym or sticking to your diet becomes easier because your mind starts to expect success rather than fearing failure. Now that we've established how chunking and confidence play pivotal roles in boosting willpower, let's move on to the third psychological strategy, changing how you perceive willpower itself. Up until this point, you may have learned that willpower is a finite resource, something that depletes as you use it throughout the day. While it's true that willpower can diminish, it turns out that your beliefs about willpower can significantly influence how much of it you actually have access to. This insight comes from a fascinating study conducted in 2010 by a researcher named Javi. The study explored how people's perceptions of willpower affected their ability to maintain it. The results showed that individuals who believed willpower was a limited resource, something that runs out as they use it, tended to lose willpower more quickly than those who believed it was unlimited. In other words, if you think you only have a small amount of willpower and that it will be exhausted after a few tasks, your brain will behave in accordance with that belief. You'll feel drained and unable to continue. However, if you adopt the belief that willpower is abundant and can be replenished, your brain will adjust accordingly. Instead of feeling depleted after completing a challenging task, you'll feel more capable of pushing through. The takeaway here is that how we view willpower plays a significant role in how much we can actually use. So what can you do to change your perception of willpower? Start by acknowledging the reality that your brain has a much greater reservoir of willpower than it lets on. The brain tends to limit the amount of willpower we use in order to conserve energy. But this doesn't mean that more willpower isn't available. It just means your brain is being cautious. When you understand this, you can start training your mind to access that untapped willpower. One helpful way to approach this is through knowledge and education. By learning more about how willpower works, you gain insight into how to better manage and access it. The simple act of learning about the science behind willpower can give you a sense of control over it. For instance, knowing that willpower can be replenished through proper rest, nutrition, and mental strategies empowers you to maintain higher levels of it throughout the day. It's like having a key to a hidden reserve that you can use whenever you need it. Another practical step is to shift your mindset from thinking of willpower as something you run out of to something you can tap into. I like to believe that by studying willpower and understanding how it works, I can tap into an unlimited source of it more effectively than someone who hasn't explored this knowledge. This belief in itself helps you perform better because you're no longer mentally restricting yourself. The key here is adopting the mindset that willpower is something you can cultivate rather than something that just depletes on its own. Moving on to the fourth strategy, let's talk about the importance of identity and how it shapes your behavior. Our identity, the way we see ourselves, has a profound impact on the amount of willpower it takes to stick to our habits and reach our goals. When your identity aligns with the habits and goals you're working toward, you need far less willpower to maintain them. Conversely, if your self-identity conflicts with your goals, every action will feel like a struggle. Here's an example. Imagine someone trying to quit smoking. If they think of themselves as a smoker who is simply trying to quit, their old identity is still strongly tied to the habit they're trying to break. In this case, every urge to smoke feels like a battle, requiring a lot of willpower to resist. However, if that same person adopts a new identity and starts thinking of themselves as someone who doesn't smoke, the effort required to quit is significantly reduced. They no longer identify as a smoker, and as a result, the habit of not smoking aligns with their sense of self. Changing your identity to align with your goals may sound difficult, but one effective way to do it is by paying attention to your language. The words you use to describe yourself and your actions can either reinforce your old identity or help you build a new one. Let's return to the example of quitting smoking. Instead of saying, "I can't smoke because I'm trying to quit," you might say, "I don't smoke." The first statement implies that you're still a smoker at heart, struggling against a habit. The second statement, however, suggests that you've already adopted a new identity as a non-smoker. Over time, your brain starts to believe the identity you're reinforcing, which reduces the amount of willpower required to stick to your goal. This same principle applies to any habit or goal. For example, instead of telling yourself, "I have to go to the gym," reframe it as, "I'm the kind of person who enjoys exercising." Rather than thinking, "I can't eat junk food because I'm on a diet," say, "I choose to eat healthy because it's who I am." By using language that aligns with your desired identity, you make it easier to stick to your goals, and your brain requires less willpower to stay on track. A useful tip here is to replace phrases like "I can't," "I have to," or "I must" with "I want to." When you say "I can't," it often implies a sense of restriction, as though you're being forced to do something against your will. This type of language reinforces the old you, the one you're trying to change. On the other hand, when you say "I want to," you're expressing a choice that aligns with the new identity you're trying to build. For example, instead of saying, "I can't eat that piece of cake," say, "I don't want to eat that cake because I prefer to eat healthily." This subtle shift in language can make a significant difference in how much willpower it takes to stick to your habits. Finally, let's discuss the fifth and final strategy: high-level thinking. High-level thinking involves focusing on the bigger picture and long-term goals rather than getting bogged down by short-term immediate concerns. A 2006 study conducted by Professor Fujita found that people who engaged in more high-level thinking experienced significantly higher levels of willpower throughout the day compared to those who focused on low-level, detail-oriented thinking. So what exactly is the difference between high-level and low-level thinking? Low-level thinking is when you focus on the immediate steps and specifics of a task. For instance, you might think about how you're going to get to the gym, what exercises you'll do, and what you'll eat afterward. These thoughts are necessary for planning, but if you spend too much time on them, you can become overwhelmed by the minutiae, which drains your willpower. High-level thinking, on the other hand, is about focusing on the bigger why behind your actions. Instead of concentrating on how you'll get to the gym, you think about why you want to go. Instead of stressing over the specific foods you need to eat, you focus on why you're changing your diet in the first place. High-level thinking provides a sense of purpose and meaning, which strengthens your motivation and willpower. It's easier to stick to your goals when you're constantly reminded of the larger purpose behind them. When you engage in high-level thinking, you're not just focusing on the immediate task at hand, but on the long-term benefits and the deeper reasons behind your actions. This type of thinking acts as a powerful motivator because it connects your daily efforts to something bigger and more meaningful, which in turn makes the task feel more significant. It's not just about getting through your workout today. It's about improving your overall health and well-being in the long run. It's not just about saying no to junk food today. It's about cultivating a healthier lifestyle that will benefit you for years to come. High-level thinking has the added benefit of creating what psychologists call a sense of purpose. When you operate from a place of purpose, your brain perceives your actions as being more valuable, and it becomes easier to muster the willpower to complete them. Without a sense of purpose, tasks can feel meaningless and tedious, draining your motivation and willpower. On the other hand, when your actions are tied to a greater goal, you feel a stronger commitment to seeing them through. One effective exercise that I recommend is to take a habit or goal you're working on and write down an entire page of reasons why you want to stick to it. If, for example, you're trying to build a habit of exercising regularly, list out all the reasons why this habit is important to you. These reasons might include improving your physical health, feeling more energetic, reducing stress, or setting a good example for your children. The more reasons you come up with, the stronger your sense of purpose becomes, and the easier it will be to stay motivated even when the task feels difficult or monotonous. To illustrate this, imagine someone who is trying to start a business. If they focus only on the day-to-day tasks, like making calls, sending emails, and setting up meetings, the work can feel overwhelming and exhausting. However, if they take the time to reflect on why they want to build their business, perhaps to achieve financial independence, create something meaningful, or provide for their family, the work takes on a new level of significance. This sense of purpose allows them to push through challenges and stay committed, even when things get tough. In summary, the key takeaway from all of this is that our willpower and motivation are not as limited as we might think. While biological factors such as sleep, nutrition, and exercise certainly play a role in how much energy we have throughout the day, the psychological factors we've discussed are far more influential. By changing the way we think and approach tasks, we can dramatically increase our ability to stay motivated and achieve our goals. So let's recap the 5 powerful psychological strategies that will help you boost your willpower and motivation. 1. Chunking. Break down large, intimidating tasks into smaller, more manageable pieces. By focusing on one small step at a time, you trick your brain into releasing more willpower, allowing you to make steady progress toward your goal. 2. Building confidence. Confidence plays a huge role in how much willpower you need. The more confident you are in your ability to achieve a goal, the less mental effort it will take. Focus on small wins and track your progress to gradually build your confidence and momentum. 3. Shifting your perception of willpower. Your beliefs about willpower influence how much of it you can access. If you believe that willpower is limited, you'll feel depleted faster. However, if you view willpower as something that can be tapped into and replenished, you'll find that you have far more of it than you thought. 4. Changing your identity. When your identity aligns with your goals and habits, you need less willpower to stick to them. Use language that reinforces your new identity and replace phrases like "I can't" or "I have to" with "I want to" create a mindset that supports your long-term success. 5. High-level thinking. Spend more time thinking about the bigger picture and the long-term reasons behind your actions. High-level thinking provides a sense of purpose, which makes it easier to stay motivated and maintain your willpower. As we move forward, it's important to keep in mind that these psychological strategies are not quick fixes or magic solutions. They require practice and consistent effort to implement effectively. But the more you work on developing these skills, the more control you'll gain over your willpower and motivation. I want to stress that the biological factors we discussed in the previous lesson are still important. It's undeniably difficult to maintain motivation and willpower if you're sleep-deprived, malnourished, or neglecting your physical health. These factors act as the foundation upon which your mental energy is built. However, what's becoming clearer through research is that psychological factors, the way you think about and approach tasks, play an even bigger role than we once realized. In fact, the potential amount of willpower available to you far exceeds what most people ever tap into. Until next time, stay motivated and remember, you have more willpower than you think. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us, and we truly appreciate it.